Cool. So I've just hit record. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to measure exercise intensity for results. And the reason we're talking about this is do you know what? The first time in a while, we had three people ask about the RIR today. So I thought, what better time than to just run through it right now because it's so important that you're understanding what the terminology like RIR means and what RPE means so that you can maximize your results that you're getting. Okay, so let's dive straight in. Um, so this is for you if you have ever wondered if you're really working hard enough or whether you're working too hard, because it can be quite unknown for you, particularly if you're newer to exercise, where the boundaries lie with the intensity that you need to be putting into your workouts. So So what we'll do, if you're wondering what RIR is and RPE is, um, if you're confused with all the jargon words, I'll come back to any questions at the end. Um, if you're confused with what any of the jargon words are that I'm throwing around, perhaps you are lifting weights and you're wondering, is this the right amount of weight? Is this too heavy for me? Is this too light for me? And you're just not really too sure. Um, Hang on one sec. You can't hear me. Okay, I'll drop out and come again. Okay, sorry. So I have just, give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Cool. Um, and if you're lifting the right weights and you're wondering, like, if you're doing the right thing, sorry, this has been a really bubbly start to this, and you're kind of just left guessing a little bit. Um, what is exercise? So we're going to run through today. What is exercise intensity? Why it matters? What RIR is? I know we briefly explained in the chat. And what RPE is. We're going to run through tools for strength and resistance training. We're going to run through heart rate zones, how to measure cardio intensity as well. And also, we can talk a little bit about how we can practically apply that into your workouts as well. So, first of all, what is exercise intensity? It's essentially the level of effort that you're putting into your exercise compared to your maximum capacity. So, you can give it 100%, but we don't always want to give it 100% because if you're giving it 100% all the time, you're going to burn out. So, what we need to be doing is we need to be reducing back and we need to be picking when and where we're going to be putting our energy and the intensity that we're giving it. Why does it matter? Because ultimately, if you are not giving enough energy to your workouts, you're going to find that you're not going to get as much progress when you want to, and you're not going to be seeing those results. If you're pushing too hard, you're going to risk the injury. You're going to risk injury and potential burnout as well. So we need to find that sweet spot. We need to find that middle ground, that what's going to work best for you and also what is going to work best for you to see results. We're also going to run through the strength and resistance intensity because there's slightly different ways of measuring it. So we're going to run through strength and resistance intensity when it comes down to like weights and what reps to do. And we're also going to run through the cardio intensity as well. So by that, I mean understanding a little bit more about heart rate and your perceived effort. So let's first of all talk more on RIR. So RIR stands for reps and reserve. So this is essentially measures how many reps you can still do before failure. So how many more reps that you have got left in the tank. And if I'm explaining this and any of this isn't completely clear to you, then you can always drop me a message after and we can run through it a bit more in depth. But hopefully by the end of this, you should be understanding it all. So for example, if you need to do 10 reps of, let's say, dumbbell squats, if the RIR says 2, I want you to be using a weight that means when you get to 10, you could probably do 2 more, but it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get to 2, but you could add another 2 in at good form. So that's where I want you to be hitting. So as a guideline, you want, and again, so say if the RIR, really hard to say RIR, is 3, I want you to be putting enough energy and using the right amount of weights. So you've got a little bit more left in the tank. So you've got about 3. So you might find that on your workouts, I will start with you having like 3 reps left in the tank. So I want you to start with slightly lower weight, just so you're not completely burning out to start with. So you'd be squatting, doing your dumbbell squats, you do 10 reps, and after the 10, you think, you know what, I could keep going for a few more. Only 3 more though. Whereas if you've got the RIR of 2, at that point is when you want to be increasing your weights a little bit more. So you might want to go up 1 kilo or up like 2 kilos. You just gauge it by how you are feeling. Some days you might feel like you can smash it, you can lift heavy weights. Other days it might feel less. So that's why I've stopped putting in the weight so much. And you're focusing more and listening to more how your body feels and what feels right for you on that day. You've got to be honest with yourself. This is you being honest with yourself and pushing yourself. This isn't like a gal or jowl card. This is you analyzing, recognizing how you feel and seeing how much more you can push yourself. So as a guideline, beginners, you're probably looking more, you'll start by feeling you've got the RIR of about 3 to 4, and that's what will be noted sometimes on your program, more so around the 3, and then it will increase, then it will, I guess, decrease to 2, because that means that you're ready to start pushing yourself that little bit more. And you also sometimes find that there is an RIR. So RIR is on a sliding scale. So it can go up to 0 as well. So 0 essentially means I want you to go to exhaustion. So you can't physically do another rep in good form. So let's talk about, so RIR, we've spoken about that. So reps in reserve. So how many you've got left in the tank. On the flip side, so this will normally be done by counting reps. So if I give you, say, 8 reps, 10 reps, 12 reps, whereas RPE, that's more common as well with, like, say, a timed workout. So if I'm giving you, let's say, I want you to be working for the duration of 30 or 40 seconds, I will put down the RPE of, let's say, I want you to be working till 7. So as you can see here on the table I've got in front of me, your scale can go from 1 to 10. So 1 being pretty much idle, relax, sitting down. 10 not feeling like any exhaustion at all. 10 being your absolute max. Like you've got nothing left in the tank by the time you get to like the top end of 1. Did I say that right way around? Yeah. So what you'll find on a lot of your workouts, they'll typically sit between about 7 and 8. So on the flip side, if you were to think about it, if it's sitting at 7, if your RPE is 7, you'd normally figure it out that you've got about three reps left in the tank towards the end of the workout. If it's sitting at 8, you're pushing that little bit harder, and you might find that you've got like 2 reps left. But typically, your RPE is, you gauge it yourself. You have to think like, right, on this scale, how hard do I feel like I'm working? How out of breath am I? How fatigued do my muscles feel? So that's why it's often done for time. You can also use a similar thing for cardio as well. Like, how much do you feel you're giving into this workout? So I've spelled this wrong here, but like, let's map out the RPE to RIR. So on the left-hand side here, you've got the RPE. You can't see it on Instagram Live, but I'm also doing this as a workshop. So if you want recording, give me a shout. So on the left-hand side, you've got the RPE, and I've scaled that down from 10 to about 6, because that's typically where we work at. Then you've got the RIR of 0 down to 4. So when you've got that RPE of 10, you are giving that 100%. You're giving it 100%. And you've then got to the point where you've given it your all and you can't physically do any more. And then you take it down a notch and you've got like 9. you're giving it as much as you can, but you might still have a tiny bit left in the tank, and so it goes on. But we typically sit around the 7 or 8 mark. It might be that you get to the point of 9, but you won't necessarily go too much more. It might be on occasions that we'll do it like as a set where you go to exhaustion, but we tend to always keep about 1 to 2 at least reps left in the tank. It just means that we don't fatigue ourselves too much. So what I want you to be thinking about next time when you're on your workout is, if my RPE is too low, should I be increasing my weights or my reps the next set? So for the sake of this, typically what I will do, you'll notice on a lot of your workouts that you'll find as your reps go down, your RPE, your RIR will also go down. If your RPE is too high, you need to reduce your weights to maintain your good form. So all of this is based around your form. It's so important, no matter what you're pushing yourself to, you need to make sure that your form is consistent the whole way through, and you're doing your reps correctly to avoid any form of injury as well from that perspective too. So let's touch a little bit on heart rate training. Now, I'm not too concerned about this from a perspective that not everybody has a watch that they're wearing or a heart rate monitor on them when they're doing their workout. So I'm not too concerned, and I don't want to necessarily focus too much on this, but I thought for the benefit of you, so you can understand it a little bit more, it's probably quite helpful to dip into. So typically your heart rate is monitored via, you can get like heart rate belts, you can get most people will have the ones that go on your wrist. And then you'll also have a formula for estimating what roughly your max heart rate is. So you've got a simple option here. I put 2 of them here just so you can have a bit of a play around and you can see it a little bit more, gauge it a little bit more. But you've got, let's say your max heart rate of 2, you take the equation of 220 and you minus your age. So let's say, for example, 220 minus 34 years old, and it's 186. That roughly would be my max heart rate. Then you've got on the chart here, you can see you've got your different zones. So the different zones is the intensity that you're working in. So again, you probably find yourself working around, like for your cardio sections, you will probably find yourself varying between about 70 to 80. And then you might find that for short intervals, if you've got a, say, 20-second burst, you might get into that 80 to 90. Some of you might peak that little bit more into the 90 to 100 section, but that's for real max effort, and you would only be doing it for such a short duration of time. But mostly you'll be sitting between about probably around zone 3 and then peaking into zone 4. And that's when, so some of you have got your watches linked and you can see the little graph that it goes up and down. So typically your cool down is on the lower section. So you're normally in about zone 1 to 2, like as you're starting to warm up a little bit more, and then you'll peak and it will go higher the more energy you're exerting. So if you don't have a watch, this is why I don't want to touch too much on it, but I thought the first question is going to come up. I don't have a watch. How would I know what my heart rate is? So if you don't have a watch, it's not the end of the world. You don't necessarily need one. You have to go to the old school way of doing it, which I don't like. It's a bit faffy. Like, give it a go, see how you find it, but don't get hooked up on it and don't worry too much about it. So what you do is, if you, let's take a treadmill, for instance. Let's say you're running on a treadmill and you are at an incline and you want to figure out what your heart rate is, but you don't have a watch, then what you would have to do is stop briefly, find your pulse, like in your neck or your wrist, and then you count the beats like 15 seconds. Once you've counted your beats for 15 seconds, you then multiply it by 4, and then that will give you the number that you're after. It might be like, let's say you're about 140, 130, 140. Then you would compare that, then you put that into the chart of 60 to 70, or like where it would fit in the intensity chart. It's a lot less accurate doing it that way, and it's a lot harder because you have to stop start, and it's not really that reliable. But I thought it important just so you know so you can cover that aspect and give it a play around if you want to. But as I say, I'm not too worried about the heart rate side of things if you don't have a watch at this stage. So let's pull together what we've learned. So let's go for a strength example. So if you've got 10 reps at 2 RIR, that's going to be approximately RPE of 8. That means the weight is heavy enough. Like, it's a really good weight. If you're getting to 10 reps, you have got 2 more reps left in the tank and you're giving it about RPE, because that's a really, the way it works is it just means that your muscles are staying under tension for long enough to like recruit the muscle fibers. You're doing each rep solid, you've got really good form, you're able to perform at high tension on those muscles, you're being able to give quality reps, and you've got that growth signal going through your body. So that is a really good sweet spot. And then for a cardio, if we're looking at the cardio side of things, if you were to go on, let's say, a 20-minute jog and you were in zone 2 to 3, so a relatively steady pace, what you could do is you would do, and I've done this for a few of you who've started integrating more runs into your program, you do short bursts of faster runs. And during those short bursts, let's say you did a burst of 1 minute, you want to be aiming to get to that zone 4 or zone 5, having those intense heart rate bursts. And then you'll drop back down into zone 2 to 3. So you don't need a smartwatch to do all this. A lot of it is done by you gauging how you feel and how you're performing. RPE is very much you deciding on that scale where you're fitting in at that time. I would think about it most reps, most sets. And you probably are naturally doing it anyhow. You might not have put the words with your actions, but the chances are you're getting to the end of the reps, you're getting to the end of your reps and you're thinking, oh gosh, this is getting harder and this is getting harder. Or sometimes you might think, oh, actually, this is a bit too easy. And then you're naturally going to increase your weight. RIR, again, if it feels like you've got more reps left in the tank than 2 or 3 or whatever's written down on your program, then it's time to increase your weights. If your RPE, if you're not on a deload and your RPE is sitting around, you feel like it's sitting around about 5 or 6, time to increase your weights. Unless it's a warm-up set, ideally you're probably looking at, unless stated otherwise, for your RPE to be sitting around 7 or 8 out of 10. So again, the heart rate side of things. I don't worry too much about that. If you've got it hooked up, great. But a lot of time, like, your heart rate as well can be affected by multiple other things in your life: stress, caffeine, sleep, hormones. So yes, it's a great way of tracking things, but I'd rather let's focus on the RPE and the RIR side of things. And the reason we stepped away from using weights, as I say, was that people are now able to gauge for themselves. Sometimes it will be a matter of I'd put 6 down, but they're actually feeling like they can use 7s. So by me taking away that number of a weight, it's enabling people to grow and progress more based on how they're feeling. So it's just making it a little bit more flexibility. And also on days, let's say like when you're on a period or something like that, and you're feeling you can't push your body so hard, then it's really helpful for that as well, because it means that you can use your RIR, and it means you can step back a little bit, but you're still pushing your body to what it can do at that stage. So the way we're doing it, it just makes it faster, it's more intuitive, you're listening to your body. It means it's more sustainable for how you're training. It means we've got that consistency, you're not burning out. It means we can get those 3, 4, 5 workouts in, whichever you're doing, and you've got that consistency. You're not going to burn out. You are recruiting your muscles, you're optimizing your muscle growth, and it's something that you can measure yourself. So in a nutshell, that is me talking about intensity and how we're measuring it for exercise for you to get your results. If you've got any questions on any of it, give me a shout, because it might be, I'm hoping that I've explained it clearly. But if you do have any questions, give me a shout. We can hop on a call. I can send you a voice note, try and explain it a little bit better. But I hope that helps. So if there is no question,